Ultra running, more than a marathon, multiple days in a row, 50K, 100K, 100 miles. Ways in which we define our sport. But this concept, when I first heard it, it literally blew my mind. Hello and welcome to the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy. Hope you're all well and I hope you've had a great week of training. So I'm going to bring our today's guest into the studio now. So I would like to welcome Kevin Britton to the show. Hello, Kev. Welcome to the show, aka Runpreneur. So tell us who you are, Kev. Who are you? What are you into? What is running for you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Thanks, Coach Marshy. Thanks for having me. So I'm Kevin Britton. I have a running vlog called Runpreneur, which has evolved into a running fundraising challenge, which we'll tell you more about in a little while. My introduction to running actually came through Coach Marshy. So I've been running about 3.5 years. It's been a pretty epic journey. I focus a lot of my running around fundraising, and it just really helps me develop a positive frame of mind, which is so important, especially in today's world.
And away from the running world, Kev, what do you do? What's your kind of day-to-day stuff?
Yeah, I run my own businesses. I have businesses in property and online education, and they're going great, which I'm fortunate because obviously through the pandemic, it's hit so many industries in so many negative ways. I'm fortunate enough to have come through it, and it's allowed me the kind of freedom to focus on my passions, which is my kind of philanthropy side of what I do now, which hopefully we'll go into a bit more detail very shortly.
Excellent. So in terms of a running club, Kev, obviously you're part of our running club, High Runners, here in Cambridge, and Kev trains with us regularly in our interval sessions, and we do club runs and various things. And Kev and I have also spent some time away together on a little 4-day excursion around the UK on something called the Hope Alive Tour, which I'm sure Kev's going to touch on at some point as well, where Kev decided to run a lot of miles during that challenge as well. So Kev, I mentioned there in the intro, I was talking about how our kind of sport of ultra running is defined by these kind of regular things and 50K, 100K, but multi-day events is something that's becoming more and more popular. And there's new races from Rat Race and a few other companies that are now doing like multiple days, like months on end. But literally, when I spoke to you about your challenge, it completely blew my mind and was absolutely blew me out of this world in terms of what it was that you're going to try and do. So first of all, Kev, what is this amazing running challenge that you're going to do? You're going to attempt to do?
Okay, so the running challenge is it all comes from fundraising ultimately, and I've always used running as a way to raise money for children's charities. So I have 3 young children, seeing how vulnerable they are, and seeing that children don't get a choice in the circumstances they're born into or born with. So that's always been my passion. And as I got into running, I mean, you know my journey very well. I'm pretty competitive. I kind of wanted to push myself fairly quickly, and I got up to kind of marathon level and an ultra marathon kind of level. And when you're doing that, people really support you from a fundraising perspective because, oh, it's your first marathon. Oh, it's your first ultra marathon. But as soon as you've done 1 or 2, it's really difficult to get fundraising because people think, well, you can do that. So it kind of evolved into something a bit more epic. So if I go back to the beginning of lockdown number 1 of the COVID pandemic, this is where all this kind of began. So I had all my races scheduled as you would have done, and all the other runners that we know will have had all their events cancelled almost overnight. And as a runner, if you don't have that next milestone or next challenge to aim for, it doesn't have to be competitive. It can be, you just want to run X number of times a week, whatever. But if you don't have that challenge or something to keep you going, it's really hard to keep going as a runner. So I was at a bit of a crossroads in business as well, because things had happened. And I spoke to, lots of people in the club and that, and so many people were talking about running every day for a year. So I thought, well, you know what, that gives me something to kind of go at now. So I decided to do that. And at the same time, somebody who mentors me in business suggested you need to create content every day for a year. And his words were, if you create content every day for a year, opportunities will never be an issue for you again. And I was at that crossroads. So I thought, I'll give it a go. But I hate that kind of front-facing, kind of extrovert style, being the front face of something. It's not who I am. I'm more introverted. But I thought, you know what? I can run. I'm going to run every day, so I'll vlog when I run. And that's how the kind of vlog was created. And it was then, as I was doing this challenge I got kind of into the first few months, that I came across a social media post from an old age pensioner in a running group. I can't remember which running group it was, but he had documented or looked into his statistics over the course of his whole running career. I think he was in his 70s. He'd worked out that he'd run the distance to circumnavigate the globe twice. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. So I thought, you know what, I'm running every day, and this is not too bad. So why don't I set myself the challenge of running every day, consecutive days, to the distance of one lap around the world? And I thought, that's got legs, that's got miles, literally, and it's got something that hopefully people will be able to follow, and we can get some fundraising behind it. So that's how the Runpreneur Challenge was kind of created. And it basically, our mission is to raise £1 million for children's charities by run vlogging on consecutive days the distance of one lap around the world. Now it's 40,075 kilometers in total.
Do you know what that is in miles or not?
In miles, I will do the conversion for you. Hang on.
He'll do the conversion for us.
I'll do the conversion for you now. So 40,075 kilometers in miles. In miles, that is 24,901.45 miles. So wow, it's pretty epic.
So whether our listeners listen in Ks or miles, they've got a grasp for what that looks like now. I mean, that's big. That's massive.
It is. And I commit to running a minimum of 5 kilometers a day whilst vlogging. And to spice it up a little bit more, I even do it barefoot style. And there's a reason behind that, which we can touch on in due course. But my aim is to finish by my 50th birthday, which is about 10 years and 8 months away, which means I have to run an average of 66 kilometers or 41 miles every week to achieve that. So it's a lot of miles. It's a lot of vlogs. It's a lot of running. It's a lot of barefoot running. But it's going to hopefully be the driver which raises £1 million, which will genuinely save the lives of children who need that support. So that's what this is all about.
So from the running perspective first, we'll get onto the charity in a second, but the running perspective is going to be consistency is key there, because actually 40 miles in any given week for someone who's trained for a marathon, that would be something that people would do. But actually to do that continually week in, week out for over a decade is going to be, that's going to be a massive challenge. What does your wife think to that? What do your family think to that?
It is difficult. I mean, you've got to have people that appreciate that it is an epic challenge. It is going to have an element of involvement in your personal life, but not as much as you might think. I mean, a 5K run, if I do a minimum of 5K, that's less than half an hour. So everybody has a lunch break. You can fit it in and around. And the beauty of running and the freedom of running, as long as you've got your footwear and your running kit, you can go anytime, any place. You can run in any elements, and I've run in every single one of them over this past. I did day 411 today. So yeah, I mean, I do have a supportive family, of course I do, and a supportive business partners and people I work with who also believe in what I'm doing. But it's bigger than me. It's bigger than the next business opportunity. This is something that I've always been super passionate about. Is I want to be able to say that, we created a movement, not just me, a movement of people that have been involved in something that has genuinely saved the lives of as many children as we can possibly do. And that's what this is about. It's not about self-improvement, or it's not about becoming a better runner. It's not about opportunities that this is going to open for me. It's not about that. It's about being able to say, what, we genuinely saved the lives of these children. And that's what really, really inspires me to carry on with this journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be with you all the way through it. I'll be right there by your side as much as you need any help or motivation for sure. And in terms of the actual outcome goal and the reasons why that you explained there, you know, that as people, Kev, that's, you know, for anyone who doesn't know us personally that's listening into this, that's who we are. And if you ask people about who we were, that's who we are. We care. We like to give others. We like to pay forward. And you know what you're doing here is something it's epic in terms of the running and the challenge, but actually it's epic in terms of what it does in terms of raising awareness, the movement. You know, you said about a movement, people all going in the same direction for this goal of £1 million. And that's just something that I think everyone should get behind. Now, life isn't that simple and we appreciate that. But in terms of the charities themselves, so it's for multiple charities, right? So do you want to just explain those charities and who they are?
Yeah, I mean, the dream is through all my historical fundraising activities, it's always been linked to a single charity. And don't get me wrong, there's so many amazing charities out there, but they're normally focused around singular causes. And something that I always wanted to have the mechanism to do was to raise money which went towards preventing the whole spectrum of issues affecting children. So that's why we selected 6 charities, which between them cover the whole host. And they all mean something to me from a personal perspective, which is important. So I have a connection with them, which is really, really key. But what they stand for and what they do covers the whole host of issues. So the charities we've chosen is BBC Children in Need, Great Ormond Street Hospital, Children with Cancer UK, FAB, Operation Orphan, and Internet Watch Foundation. Between the 6 of them, they cover things from health to mental health, vulnerability, disability, orphans, child slavery, internet exploitation, abuse, you know, the whole host of issues affecting children in so many different ways are covered within those 6 charities. And every single pound and penny that we raise will get equally split and passed over to those 6 charities every single month. So it's not that we're going to raise the money and then pass it over. It's actually a cash flow side of things for these charities that we're trying to generate, because they need the money now. It's not, you know, it will help in a few years' time, of course, but they need it now to make a difference now, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, and you know, I think just so everyone's aware, you and I are good friends, and we chat a lot, and you talk about the vehicle for achieving this goal being running, and how running can be used as a vehicle. Do you think running is something that is a vehicle for many things? Is there lots of reasons why people should run?
Oh, there's a whole host of reasons, and you know, take away all the competitive stuff. Okay, now there is obviously a place for competitive running, and I love running and I love being competitive, but I get so many more benefits from running that creates a positive environment. And it's that positive force that running can give you. Just that feeling of getting outside, getting out in the open, having that kind of tranquility and connection with the nature around you, having that headspace to kind of, I mean, I always talk, my vlog has always been geared around how running can be a release mechanism to help people relieve the emotions of stress, overwhelm, and anxiety. All emotions that we all experience in different levels that are all relative to our lives. And without that release mechanism, whether it's exercise, running, yoga, meditation, whatever you choose to use, you need that release mechanism to kind of find an equilibrium. If you don't find that, that's when people start venturing into overwhelm, anxiety, panic, and mental health breakdowns, which is ultimately what we're trying to avoid. So my message is use running, because it's so powerful, and you'll find a connection with a whole new positive frame of mind. We all have days where you wake up in the morning and you know what? You're just not feeling it. You've had a bad night's sleep or anything. You go out and you do a 5K run in the nature, then you can turn that potentially negative, unproductive day into a really, really positive and productive one. And that's what running does for me.
So this is a massive challenge, a challenge that's going to last over a decade. 5K minimum per day is what you're setting as the minimum to run. So this is like one massive ultra run every day, no break. So there's going to be challenges within that. There's going to be challenges physically, challenges mentally. There are even going to be challenges within the challenge. For example, I understand during the pandemic, you had to isolate during this challenge as well. So talk about the kind of challenges that that are going to be there, from whether you're attempting world records, the injuries that you might get and face, what you faced so far in these first sort of 411 days. You know, talk about that kind of situation, about the challenge within the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to look, life goes on, and you know, 10 years, 11 years is a long time. There's a lot of things that can happen. So you can get illnesses. You obviously want a bit of a social life. So there's probably going to be hangovers there. You're going to have COVID self-isolations that I've had to experience, running in all kinds of crazy weather conditions, of which there's not many I haven't seen now. So you constantly have these challenges that are presenting themselves, and you have to be so mentally resilient to be able to push yourself to get out there and do that run. A couple of things to bring to mind is the self-isolation. I had to isolate for 9 days. Fortunately, I wasn't. I was negative, so I wasn't positive with COVID symptoms of any kind. But I was in close proximity of someone who was a positive COVID case. So I was given 9 days to self-isolate. Unfortunately, I'd managed to get my run in before I got the alert. So I had 8 days worth of running that I needed to encompass within the grounds of my home. Ground sounds very, very glamorous, but it is not. My garden, basically, a driveway. And so I had to try and keep up with my mileage. I set myself the target of trying to do 73 kilometers over those 8 days. And traditionally, that's a lot of mileage, or a lot of kilometers anyway. But to do it around a confined space, or your garden, or around your house, the monotony of that was brutal. It was a really, really tough challenge. And I think 8 days, I managed to do 78 kilometers in those 8 days. But running 52-meter laps of my house, it was horrendous. I mean, to put it in perspective, it's 20 laps to do 1 kilometer. So, you know, I ended up doing, I think, 1,480 laps of my house over that period of time to hit that mileage. And it was to keep on track, but you're also having to do things like ducking through the lean-to. You know, I was running through my lean-to get around my house. I was having to duck. I was having to jump over, you know, kids' bikes and footballs, and they were kicking balls around the garden and stuff like that. And the challenge that I got from that was you don't realize until you have to do that, when you're out running, the freedom that you experience, the kind of the ability for your mind to switch off and recharge. You lose all that with running in self-isolation, because for one, your mind's having to think about ducking and dodging certain things. So you constantly have to be on it. It's like driving almost. And two, it's like claustrophobic running. You're running in a really small confined space over and over again. And it's horrible. You feel a little bit trapped. So that was terrible. The other one that springs to mind over the last year was running in the snow, barefoot style. Didn't really think it through very well, but I went out and did my run in the snow, barefoot style. My feet felt like they were on fire because of the coldness of the snow on barefoot running footwear, and it was excruciatingly painful. And then all of a sudden, I just lost all feeling in my feet. And when I got back, it took about an hour to an hour and a half to get feeling back in my toes. It was borderline frostbite. I mean, that was pretty horrendous as well. But I've run through COVID jabs. I'm double jabbed. Had my second jab just this week, and felt horrendously rough the next morning. And I managed to get a 7K run in, but you know, I was so depleted and demoralized. Everything was such an effort. So what it comes down to is how mentally resilient you can be. And if you've got that mental resilience, it's amazing what your body will do if you can condition your mind to tell you to do it. And I think you don't get that resilience over, you know, by the clicking your fingers. It comes with practice and perseverance. And you know, when you, it's amazing what your mind can accomplish when you put it to the test. Yeah.
So a couple of things on that, really. The I know throughout the pandemic there was lots of challenges on the social media platforms about let's run a mile in our garden if you've got a garden. So people will have given that a go. I certainly did. But the idea of doing that to the extent that you had to do it just is frightening, because I just felt really dizzy and sick for doing 1 mile, let alone doing sort of 78K. So yeah, I mean, that's just epic in itself. And then you just said previously about what your kind of message around using running as a vehicle is and what it can do for you. But just recently in your isolation, that was gone, and you didn't have that daily release that you talk about. And you know, it's it's a challenge within a challenge. And I guess on that note, there's some actual purpose challenges within this challenge as well. So I know that you've already completed a world record, so you can tell us about that. Tell us about future kind of record attempts that you're going to go for. And is there any sort of ideas around getting a community involved in a challenge within this challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as crazy as this sounds, this mission to raise £1 million for children's charities, the running part is actually the straightforward or the easy part. It comes down to being a marketing challenge as much of it is as a fundraising and running challenge, because ultimately we have to get our message out to as many people as possible, because that's what's going to get us the money that we need, a huge amount of money over a period of time. I'd love to think we'll get more than that, but it is very much how effective we are with our kind of marketing strategy. So one of the things we thought about were publicity stunts. And Guinness World Records, people are universally know about Guinness World Records, and being world record holders is like nice kudos to kind of have. So I thought, right, we're going to try and I'll break a world record to begin with. So I found one on the Guinness World Records website, and it was I was looking for fancy dress outfits to run a marathon in. I thought there's loads of them out there, and I thought I'll try and find one that would be easy to run in. I thought that would be my target. So I found one that was fastest male marathon runner dressed as a ninja, and I think the previous world record was 4 hours and 14 minutes. And I thought, oh yeah, I can do that. I'm a sub 4 hour marathon runner. I can break that one. And it looks like a ninja would be relatively okay to run him. So I applied for it and I got accepted. And then I read the small print and it said split toe barefoot style footwear. So that was obviously a big one. And that was how my journey into barefoot running commenced. And it took a year to transition into barefoot running, which people don't realize how different it is. But we managed to break that world record, and we did a big launch with that, and that was amazing. So I have the Guinness World Record as the fastest male marathon runner dressed as a ninja. I also have a certificate that I participated in the biggest virtual marathon of all time, which was the virtual London Marathon.
You and I both, yeah, I was in that one as well.
So technically, we're Guinness World Record holders if you take that one into consideration as well. But then we said, right, we're gonna try and do 2 world records every year, because every 6 months we can do a launch around that. That will be good for publicity, and it will be good to raise awareness of what we're trying to achieve. So this is straight off the press, in London Marathon this year in October, I'm going to be adjudicated, hopefully in London, if it goes ahead in London, which we're hoping it will, to be the fastest male marathon runner dressed as a ballet dancer. So that will be quite amusing. And again, my barefoot training will help, because ballet shoes are very similar to kind of barefoot style footwear. So I've got to beat 4 hours to do that. So I'll be doing that then. And I've also got the Cambridge Half Marathon, where I can't have there being another world record holder, as there's a guy who's the world record holder as the fastest half marathon male runner dressed as a ninja, and I can beat his time. So I'm going to try and get the half marathon record for my ninja outfit as well. So they're the kind of publicity stunts that we're kind of going to be using to try and raise awareness. But it's very much a case of using my network. And we talk about we're only 7 steps away from everybody in the world, 6.5, 7 billion people. So I very much have to use people I know for introductions to people I can get on my vlog to kind of enhance my reach and exposure to try and have a chance at raising this money.
So what you're saying is if there's anyone who feels passionate about what they're listening to while they listen to this podcast and they feel they can help this out, they should get in contact, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the introductions. I've got several, really interesting people that are going to be coming onto the vlog over the next few weeks. I'm always looking for more people that can get involved. And I think we said about, this isn't me. I hide behind my kind of Runpreneur brand because I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about a mission to raise £1 million for children's charities. And I don't want it to be directly associated with me. So I kind of had this dream of obviously my favorite film is Forrest Gump, obviously, and the period in his life where he ran across the United States of America, I think 2.5 times, I think something along those lines, and he starts doing it, and by the end of it he's got a big long beard, but he's got huge numbers of people that are running with him. And that's what I had a dream about, creating a movement of people to help reach this goal. And we've been I've spoken to you about this, Marshy, about the concept of it doesn't have to be you don't have to run every single day for 11 years. I mean, that's crazy. But let's try and get people to enjoy the benefits of running every day. And we have to be careful how we promote this, because it's probably not the recommended training regime to run every single day. And, you know, people, if they follow my running, will realize I do a lot of recovery runs. So slow paced, slow stuff, just to kind of recover. So I'm not pushing it all the time. I do some fast interval relic based stuff as well, but I'm very, very conscious about protecting my body, because it's all about, you know, the duration and the endurance process of this side of things. But I thought, let's just try and get a group of people who can run every day for a period of time. Okay. And we'll create that community and we'll build it, and we'll just set people the target of doing a minimum of 1 mile a day, because the benefits you get from running every single day is huge. And if we can get so many people involved in doing that, now, if that person decides to do a week, that's fine. People do a month, great. People do a year, wonderful. People do longer, amazing. But it's about creating your own streak and being part of this community. And then we can all be linked together as this group of people that are doing this streak to raise money for children's charities. And it's going to be far more powerful having a movement of people rather than just one guy doing it. So I think there's about 10 of us that I've got that have committed to wanting to do it every day for a year. But anybody, I'm going to be putting a lot of posts about this across my social channels and everything to try and get more people involved. Because if we, you know, I always said that outside the fundraising aspect, if we can inspire just one person to put some trainers on and go for a run, then that's so powerful, and it's so worthwhile, especially in the last 18 months we've had in the COVID pandemic, and people's mental health being tested to the maximum, when their livelihoods have been put at risk, and all, you know, social interaction has become far less frequent. This is a really good way of building some positivity in people's lives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I echo everything you say, and I think, you know, everything I do personally, even in business as well, is all about just trying to make that difference to one person. And you know, you talk very passionately about if what you do can just save one child's life, then amazing. But obviously, this is going to have a bigger impact than that. It's going to save multiple children's lives, and you know, there's no reason for people to not get behind this. But you know, everyone should get behind this. This is a great thing for the running community to see. And I think, you know, you touch on so many things there, and like building that community, that movement of people, and trying to make a real difference to those children, but also, like you said, to the individuals to see those benefits. And you and I could speak till the cows come home right now about what the benefits of running are and why we think you should do it multiple days in a row. There'll be people that listen to this that completely agree with that, and there'll be people that disagree. But the point for me is that if it does something chemically in the brain or physically to the body that helps your health, then of course it's a good thing. So, you know, although this is a challenge that isn't about you, and it isn't about running necessarily, that's the vehicle. It's about raising that money for the charities and for those children, to make the difference to those children. Actually, there's so many byproducts to this whole challenge. And as I say those back to you there, are you kind of aware of that? Had you kind of considered the impact that this could now have across the running community?
Yeah, I mean, I try and keep grounded about this, because you know, I've got these insecurities. This is going to be a massive failure, and I'll do everything within my power to ensure that isn't the case. But we've had people that have said, thank you, you know, you've got me running, it's changed my life. We've had those kind of success stories already. We're getting a lot closer with the charities now, and actually understanding more about the amazing work they do. And I hope to document a lot more of that along the vlog and along the journey. Obviously, you and I have been on the Hope Alive tour, which was supporting Operation Orphan, which is one of the charities that we raise money. Hopefully we'll be doing that again, because that's an amazing event. It's eye-opening, the work that charity does. And the Hope Alive tour is about giving people hope and giving people, you know, that unity, which is amazing. So this can touch people in so many different ways, and it really, really excites me. But we are at the very, very beginning of this journey. Interestingly, BBC Children in Need have been in contact with me, and they really want to get behind the challenge. They said it's something that they haven't seen of this magnitude, of this size before. And you can obviously imagine the kind of crazy fundraising activities that they get, you know, offered and proposed on a daily basis. So really, really excited to kind of have their support, because I think they can really put this challenge on the map, have kind of dreams of running around the BBC studio or something whilst Children Needs On or something along those lines. But, long way away from that. But yeah, I think there's so many different ways that this can positively affect people if people buy into what we're trying to achieve and don't think it's about personal gain or personal benefits, because it's 1,000,000% not about that. It's about helping people, and most importantly, raising money for children who need it the most.
So you kind of talked about a potential dream across this decade of this challenge. That would be a great thing if you got that vision of running around the BBC studio. So I'm going to push you on a question that you might not want to answer here, but if you could think of, I mean, it could be from the running community, it could be from anywhere, but if you could think of one person that you would love to do one of your daily vlogs with on a run, who would that person be? Or is there a couple that really stand out? Sky's the limit and you could have anyone, who would it be?
It's a really difficult question to answer. I mean, I have a list where we've got hundreds of people that are on our target to try and get some kind of introduction with, to get them on the running vlog as an interview, but you don't really appreciate everybody has a story to tell, and everybody has anybody who's a running enthusiast will have a story connected with running in a very different way. So it's a really difficult question to answer, but obviously, there's like heroes of mine, like Mo Farah. So Mo Farah, I'd love to do a 5K with him. That would be truly amazing. People that have just pushed themselves to places where, David Goggins would be another person I'd love to do a 5K with, who, his mental resilience is probably second to none. There's so many people in life, so many inspiring people I would love to get that opportunity to speak to, because, I'm trying to find connections between exercise and running and people, how that can impact them in a positive way, how that can help them, manage the stresses and pressures of a busy life. And there's so many different stories. I had a conversation with somebody who's going to come on the running vlog over the next few weeks, who was diagnosed with cancer, and he was talking about how running had aided his recovery, and he's still not got the all clear yet, but such a powerful story about, it was almost against what the doctors were prescribing him, and he wasn't going to let that get in the way of his running. He's running with his headspace. It was his freedom, and it's really aided his recovery, and he's in the best shape of his life, and that's truly inspirational. So to kind of, I don't want to say there's a favorite, because you don't know. You're going to come up with people, and everybody's got a different story to tell. I think as many inspiring people I can get a run with is my main objective. You've got one planned yet, Marshy?
Yeah, well, I certainly think in terms of an episode of the podcast, for me, I think we will, when I come running with you, we will use one of them or multiple episodes of this podcast will be that we can just use that interview. We can do an interview yearly, whatever, that could be an ultra running podcast for us as well. So we could literally use that footage, use that sound, and that could become an episode of what we're on right now. So that would be cool. Are you a Friends fan?
I'm a Friends fan, yeah.
So do you think this vlog could become a bit like Friends, like see if everyone can get in an episode before the end of it?
I don't know. I mean, let's not get this. I want this to be as big as possible, because not for me. I don't want. It scares me if this gets big, because I'm a very private person. I don't want this to ever be directly linked. I know it will be to a capacity to me, but I want it to be about the purpose of what it's about. So if we're going to achieve those targets and those dreams and ambitions, we need to make it as big as we possibly can make it to be. And I'm prepared to push myself out of my comfort zone to do that, because I'm so passionate about what we're trying to achieve. So yeah, I'd love to get. I think there's going to be a pivot point in the future where we can get enough following. We've managed to grow our audience to a certain size where it will be really powerful, because we will hopefully have the power to call people out to become part of the challenge. And the good that this is doing in so many different ways, it's going to be hard for them to say no. And that's what we're working towards, because the more of those types of people we get on board, hopefully the more money we raise. And I'm also very, very conscious about fundraising and people's financial circumstances coming through the COVID pandemic. And we've kind of come up with this marketing campaign because it's really, really important. We're sensitive enough to understand that there's a lot of people out there that are in very different circumstances than they were 2 years ago. And we came up with this marketing campaign called Caffeine for Kevin. And the idea behind it is that if people can afford to donate the price of a cup of coffee once a month. Okay, so we're looking at subscription-based donations, £1 or £2. I'm not very classy, so that shows the level of coffee that I drink. It's £1 or £2. But over the course of the duration of the challenge, that £1 a month, which hopefully a lot of people wouldn't notice leaving their accounts, and some people may feel that, and we would never want people to try and donate if they could not afford to do it sustainably. Then that £1 would equate to about £125, which the average UK donation is a £20 donation. So because we've got the long game, a £1 a month subscription, £125, £2 is £250. That is money which will genuinely make a huge impact on a child's life out there somewhere. I mean, that's not just a small amount of money, that's a significant amount of money, and that's a really small subscription. So, and even though I will never ever get to drink that wonderful coffee that had been donated to me, because every single penny and every single pound that's raised will go in full to the 6 charities. There'll be no deductions whatsoever coming through, the Runpreneur Challenge. Metaphorically speaking, it will still give me that caffeine or energy boost, seeing that money coming in every month. So I will still get that energy boost, which will hopefully give me the energy to go the next day and the next day and the next day for the next 11 years. So that's how we're going to try and do it. And that's excluding the kind of corporate sponsorships we're going to be going for, the product endorsements. There's talk about a sportswear brand that we can kind of create as part of the Runpreneur Challenge, where all proceeds will go to. There'll be nothing linked with Runpreneur that will not be the result of any proceeds going to the 6 chosen charities. I'm 100% serious about that. There's nothing. Brilliant. I mean, put it in perspective, I get hit. I've got discounted payment merchant fees because we're a not-for-profit company, but we still get hit with 1.2%, which is a bit frustrating. But my pledge is that any donation that comes in, I will make up that 1.2% for every donation that comes in, so that every pound and every penny that is donated goes in entirety to the 6 chosen charities on a monthly basis, which is really, really important to me.
No, brilliant. And you can just hear it in your passion there, Kev, for it. And we talk a lot off air as well. And in the cafe when we're doing business kind of work, and we just sit together and do our various jobs and whatever. But the passion for this is clear, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And it's not about Kev. It's not about Kevin. It's about the kids, and it's about making real life change to real people that need it, right? And with Operation Orphan, when one of the 6 charities, I've seen that firsthand. You've seen the good work there as well firsthand, and this is needed, and it just goes unnoticed a lot of the time, and people don't realize until you get shown something like we were shown on our Hope Alive tour. And on a previous tour, I went across to Sierra Leone and met some of the orphans from the Ebola, and some of the stories were graphic. You couldn't imagine a kid having to go through that. We're both fathers, so you kind of put yourself in your kid's shoes, seeing their parent die, and it was just so frightening for me to actually see that and be able to tangibly almost touch it. It was scary. So yeah, this is so important, because whether sad as it all is and as hard as it is to listen to those stories, those things are going to continue to happen, because that's just life. So there needs to be a support mechanism for that. And like you said, those charities need that cash flow coming in. They need that flow of money. And this challenge is going to help that, and it's going to make a difference. So no, absolutely, Kev. I think it sounds absolutely epic as a whole. And I think, we're gonna be right behind you all the way. So you sort of mentioned barefoot running. Now you've skimmed over it a little bit, and probably we should give it some time. So not only are you going to do possibly the biggest ultra marathon ever by running every day, to get around the circumference of the world, but you're going to do it in barefoot style. You talked about the transition of that. Some people will know what barefoot running is, some people won't, but what is it? What was the transition? And how does it feel running so often and every day in barefoot shoes?
Yeah, I mean, the transition was hard. I'm not going to lie, but it's almost like a different sport, because your connection when you run in barefoot style footwear. So what we mean by barefoot style, there's no support. Basically, you might have a little bit of sole tread on the bottom of your sole just to stop stones and things you're running on, protruding through to your feet. But other than that, it's the it's the equivalent of running barefoot. So I use Vibram V Runs, so the 5-finger footwear. And you just feel this whole connection with the ground, every contour, everything that you run, you just feel a connection. And I didn't think, I didn't believe it when people got quite spiritual about barefoot running. But when you do it, you really get that connection. Now, the biggest issue with doing it is that, our bodies have changed. I mean, in evolution, as human beings, we were put on this planet to run barefoot. It was only when all of the trainers and supportive footwear that were kind of developed that our bodies have changed over the course of time. Because even in nearly pretty much any footwear, you've got 2 to 3 centimeters of sole in most instances, certainly around the heel area, and all padded cushioning around the sides of your feet, etc. And what you don't realize is that 2 to 3 centimeters that you're wearing all the time is meaning your calf muscle doesn't ever stretch to its full capacity, and your Achilles doesn't stretch to its full capacity, because you're getting 2 to 3 centimeters of support. You take that away, and then you put it into a running environment where you're pushing your muscles into an element of duress, then your calves aren't strong enough anymore. So you've got the whole transitioning phase is strengthening your calf and your Achilles to stretch to that extra 2 to 3 centimeters to get it to the stage where you can then start running. And the biggest mistake that people make, and I made it, because put it in perspective, in a year's worth of running barefoot style or making that transition, I had 6 calf tears, and it was 3 on each calf. So it was, and that was tough. And it was only because I was pushing my calf muscles too soon. So if you're going to do it, you need to transition. I mean, very slowly, like 1 mile, do 1 mile in barefoot, then put your other trainers back on and do whatever the rest of you run, and do that a few times a week, and then gradually increase the mileage. If you increase it too quick, your calf muscles will tear. It's just how it is. But the kind of byproduct of now running barefoot style, I won't go back, because I've done the hard work. I've strengthened my calf muscles. I've been, these 411 days I've done so far, have all been barefoot style. I've done marathons, I've done ultra marathons, barefoot style. So my calves are fully strengthened to that now. But the byproduct of that is that you also in running trainers, okay, if we've all had our gait analysis done. So the idea is to try and minimize the impact of pronation and supination. So your ankles aren't, you should be landing perpendicular with the ground ultimately as your foot strikes the ground. And the supportive gait analysis will correct running inefficiencies, if you like, and try and correct it. So you might have more support around one side of the trainer or not. Now, I was a massive believer in this, because you obviously at the beginning that you thought, well, that's going to prevent injury, which is amazing. But since transitioning to barefoot, I've had less injuries than ever before. And what's actually happened is that it's so painful to run in a running form which isn't correct in barefoot, that you have to correct yourself. So I went from a heel striker to somebody who now lands on the balls of my feet, because if you heel strike in barefoot footwear, you won't be running very long. It's just too painful. Yeah. So it's corrected my running form. And the byproduct of that is that when running is a repetition sport. So if you've got something slightly out, the more repetition you do, the more chance of being injured becomes. And barefoot running has corrected my form, and touch wood, that's the reason I haven't had too many injuries since switching over to barefoot after the calf tears. And hopefully that's what's going to get me through this challenge.
Yeah, no, it's I've given it a go with the 5-finger as well, and I've got some, and I very much intend to make it part of my training in terms of using it as a tool for strengthening my calves and my feet for sure. Yeah, it's a concept that I'd probably say not enough people use. The ultra marathon world as well, for you to do this challenge, in Barefoot is amazing. And, you know, some people are listening to this, but those that are watching this on YouTube, there's a book over my shoulder on that bookcase behind me called The Lost Art of Running. And trust me, it really goes into top depth about what Kev's just been saying there. And it's worth a read. So Shane Benzie's definitely worth a go. It'd be someone good to get on the vlog, Kev. That'd be interesting to see what he thought of it all. Anyway, so just a couple more questions then, Kev. What we will do is in the description of wherever this goes, that we will stick your links. So we'll stick the donation should anyone wish to donate, but we'll also stick how they can get in contact with you as well, in case they just want to follow this journey. You know, they want to share it on to others that might be interested. We'll pop that all down in the description so that people can see it for sure. So in terms of within this challenge, next 10 years, is there a bucket list event that you want to take part in, or a couple?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, I need to make this as much of a journey as possible and make it as an exciting journey. So, you know, I want to accomplish running the 6 major marathons as part of it. I think that's always been a kind of a bucket list as a runner. There's lots of ultras that I want to build up to, but I mean, what people don't kind of realize, I've done an ultra and I've done a marathon in these 411 days so far. But, you know, traditional training for a marathon is you taper for 2 weeks prior to marathon. So you're reducing your mileage and you're having breaks, you're running less and less and less. So you're fresh for the marathon. And then you normally take a week off afterwards to recover before you go again. This challenge doesn't allow you to do that. So I'm still having to do my minimum mileage every day in the build up to a marathon and every day after. So that in itself is hugely challenging. So I have to be a little bit selective about the races I pick. We're doing another ultra. I quite like 24-hour events because I can get 2 days worth of running in one event, which is always nice. It means I don't have to run and feel like I'm running the next day. So we do an Equinox 24 in September during Equinox weekend. It's 10k laps over 24 hours, and we do it as a team of 4. So we should get 60 to 70 kilometers each as part of that. There's loads of ultras. I'd love to do some of the really big ones, but the fear would be, can I, you know, if I did 100k ultra or 100-mile ultra, how would I run the day after that? I mean, it's hard enough after a marathon or, you know, or a smaller ultra kind of 30-miler. You know, that's what I need to build my resilience and strength up to. So it would be a very strategic approach to increasing it. Like, you'd love to do things like the Western States. I mean, I know that's your dream. It's seen as the pinnacle of ultra marathon running. And there's some other really amazing events out there that I'd love to be able to run on every continent. You know, I think that would be amazing as part of the journey, and that would be hopefully something that's achievable. But so I don't want to plan too much because I don't know where this journey is going to go, and that's part of what the excitement is. But I still always have to remind myself that it's not about, you know, my little personal goals and ambitions. That the benefit of it is I can try and accomplish them as part of this mission. But let's make let's make it abundantly clear that the goal is to raise a minimum of £1 million for those 6 children charities, and to find out where that money's going to try and connect with the families and the children that it has genuinely impacted. And I know child safeguarding, we won't be naming people, but I will be able to go deep and I'll be able to find real life situations where the money that we've raised has genuinely saved the lives that are needed to be saved. And that's the exciting part.
Yeah, no. And I think anyone listening can definitely hear it. You should be able to hear it, guys, that, you know, this isn't about Kev. This is, the goal is there and the goal is clear. It's about raising that money and making that difference to those children. And like you said, making it a journey within it is going to be all part of it. And, you know, maybe for a 100-miler, you just make sure that you get over midnight and don't finish before midnight. And then that's 2 days ticked off again. Job done. So similar to 24-hour events. Love it. So in terms of 3 tips, Kev, 3 clear tips that you would give to someone who wanted to get into multi-day running, ultra running, but maybe specifically more in the barefoot world as well?
It's a hard one. Three tips are: number one, just do it, right? Just get out there and take action. And you don't have to, compare yourself to others. I mean, that would be the first tip. Don't compare yourself to others. Have your own goals and your own ambitions, and develop your own connection with running, which is going to be unique and special to you. So, just because Joe Bloggs down the street can run a 5K in 16 minutes doesn't mean that you have to do that. Okay. So don't get embroiled in that competitive side of things unless you are training to become an elite runner, which in that case, then that's going to be very much part of what you do. If you're going to transition to barefoot running, do it slow and be consistent, but build it up very, very slowly. The problem is you never get, your body doesn't just tell you your calves are strong enough now to run a half marathon or an ultra marathon barefoot. You don't get that. You think, oh, I feel confident enough to do it. But people say it takes a year to transition, and people who say that are people with experience. So listen to them and build up your mileage very slowly on a week by week basis if you're going to make that transition, because calf tears are no fun. And number three would be, if you're running every day, is make sure you have, the general formula is 80% of your running should be slow, easy runs. Okay, 20% is the kind of intensity for speed work related stuff. So if you're running every day, you do not get that rest. So you need to incorporate recovery runs. And when I say recovery runs, really slow, easy, leisurely runs, which just allow the blood to get flowing through your muscles that can aid recovery. And I've actually found that running every day has actually enhanced my injury recovery, because obviously when I had my calf tears, I had to run through them. And when I say run through them, I'd be running at borderline walking pace, but in a running motion. But what that enabled me to do was to get the blood flowing through my muscles. And it meant that my muscles weren't healing contracted, which meant they healed correctly. And I didn't have weak points to worry about in the future. So they would be my three things. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, three awesome tips there, and very actionable as well. Very easy for anyone who's sort of using this as a tool to kind of get motivation. Absolutely. You can action all of those straight away. So yeah, no, brilliant. And so Kev, I know I said I'd whack it in the descriptions, but if people want to follow your journey or want to get involved and donate, how can they find this?
Yeah, if I'm on all the social platforms, so if anybody searched for Runpreneur or Kevin Britton, they'd find it. Runpreneur is spelled, as you can see if you're watching this, it's RUNPRENEUR, and the website is challenge.runpreneur.co. Okay, but you should find all the links in my social platforms, and the website will have all the information on there about what we're trying to do, how we're doing it. It will also have ways in which you can connect with us as well. If you want to, come and do a run with me, you can reach out to us there, or message me on any of the social platforms. And I'm always checking to because you get some wild and wacky people connecting with you, offering how they can get involved, which is amazing, and that's what it's about. So I'm always contactable, and hopefully you can join me on this journey.
No, brilliant. Absolutely awesome, Kev. So thanks very much for coming on the show, mate. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to follow this journey. I'm already, engrossed in it as it is. I love following the journey so far. And I look forward to following the rest of that journey with you. And hopefully we can welcome you back on the show. So thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks ever so much, Coach Marshy. And hopefully we can check in again in the not too distant future, and we can give regular updates on where we are. But I really, really appreciate your support. Brilliant.
So guys, that was Kev, and I think it's absolutely epic. And I think let's get behind him. I think, the running community, the ultra running world, we can really get behind this, and we can really make a difference to that for Kevin as well. So if you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to send it on to anyone who you think might find that particular episode helpful, or if you think they can help Kev along this journey to raise that £1 million, do share it with anyone that you think would benefit from it. Also, those tips that were in there as well, if you think it's something that someone can benefit from, do share it with them and point them in the right direction. Don't forget to give us a little rating and a review. And I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope you enjoyed the show. And I hope that we can meet here again soon to discuss more on the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy.